Brandon's crews are still working to locate residents who aren't accounted for after the deadly condo collapse in Surfside, Florida. The latest reported death toll is now 36 people. And the tragedy has prompted quick action in nearby cities, including the evacuation of a building in North Miami Beach, whose city manager says they're working diligently to protect residents through building inspections.
You can't do them fast enough for us. Everybody is afraid in the time of the wake of what happened in Surfside. So we're doing our best, and our building department is working diligently to review all buildings and make sure we're keeping all of our residents safe.
And the collapse of the Surfside condo has left some wondering, could it happen here? And what sorts of inspections do Chicago condo buildings face? Joining us to answer all those questions and more are Evan McKenzie, law school instructor and head of the political science department at UIC, and the author of 2 books on condo and HOA governance. Attorney Chris Caston, who practices community association law, including with condo and HOA associations. And Derek Belt, president of the Structural Engineers Association of Illinois. We also invited the city's Department of Buildings, who said they aren't providing specific comment on the collapse since there are still so many unknowns. And in a statement, the department touted Chicago's strict building codes, saying, quote, "All plans for high-rise development undergo multiple reviews from all relevant disciplines, especially structural, to help ensure long-term safety. As for the protection, owners must obtain a certificate of occupancy, which has its own set of requirements prior to allowing any occupants in the building." All right, so that's from the Department of Buildings, and we welcome all of you here to this discussion. Derek Belt, first question for you. Chicago has hundreds and hundreds of high-rise condo and apartment buildings, many that abut the water, just like in Surfside or Miami Beach. Could something like this happen here?
Short answer, no. It's really such a extremely rare event that the number of variables involved that would have to go wrong in order for something like that to happen is just almost unthinkable. It's so extremely rare, and I should step back for a second and really just say how tragic of an event this is and how sad I am. And I'm sure I speak for all of the structural engineers in Illinois, just saying that this is really sad. And, we work our entire careers trying to keep these things from happening. And it's really shocking and sad for us.
And certainly it is a rare event, underscored by the fact that you just never hear about this, which is why this is such a big news story. Chris, the Department of Buildings mentioned the strict building code. Just give us a little bit more about that building code and how well enforced and inspected that it is.
Well, there's a lot. The building code in Chicago covers a whole bunch of different things, including new construction. And with respect to condos, new construction of condos, condo conversion, and just general construction of buildings, and all that applies to condos. Also, on an ongoing type of situation, I said the city requires inspections of facades for buildings that are greater than 80 feet tall. And there's different categories and requirements for types of inspections of the facades. There's requirements for inspections of exterior metal components, fire escapes, antennas, the supports for a water tower, things that are exterior and subject to some sort of deterioration. So there are some mandatory requirements in the code. Then there's just a variety of ordinances that impact, and it applies to buildings of all sizes with respect to the condition of the bricks and mortar, even like how the windows are, painting, of course, and since we're in Chicago, of course, the porches. So there's just
a lot of layers,
things.
A lot of layers of protection.
Yeah.
Evan McKenzie, condo associations, another layer of protection here if you live in a condo building. How important are they to making sure that the building is maintained and up to standards?
Very important, because you can start out with a building that passes every inspection. I mean, this Surfside building is 40 years old, and I suspect that it had passed inspection at the time of initial construction, and probably at many points along the way. But condo buildings have to be maintained like any other building, and that responsibility falls on the board of directors of the condo association, and the expenses have to be borne by the owners, the unit owners, who pay assessments every month. And part of that assessment every month is supposed to be put in a reserve fund and set aside for eventual repair and replacement of major building components. And sometimes the issue is, as I think is part of the picture in the Surfside case, is that they don't set aside enough money methodically over the years. And so when the decade arrives, where they have the real problem, they look in the, in the piggy bank and there isn't enough there. And then you have a huge argument over having to pay for the whole thing at once using special assessments, and that's really backbreaking.
So, Evan, I want to stick with you on this then. What's the situation financially for condo associations in Illinois or in Chicago? Because as you say, these are common things that are debated at board meetings. Should we increase our assessment? Should we put in a special assessment? What is the financial situation?
Well, I think the general consensus of most people who have studied reserve funds is that, at least a third of condo associations really don't have enough in the bank, and it could be more than that. It could be substantially more. The law in Illinois does not really mandate exactly how much they're supposed to set aside for reserves. It says they should have reasonable reserves, and it tells them all the things they can take into consideration, but they aren't actually required to go out and hire a professional, someone like Derek or someone, to go out and actually inspect the building and do a full reserve study and tell them how much they should be setting aside. And that is, in my view, where, we need some reform. We ought to have these condo boards should be bringing in professionals to evaluate the building every few years and tell them where they stand and what they should be setting aside.
Some kind of oversight and management. So Derek, then to you, exactly. What are the issues that you do run up against when you inspect a lot of these buildings?
Yeah, there's, I guess, to a couple of points that were already made. As you can tell, the majority of the issues that arise really come from elements of your building that are exposed to the outside elements, the wind and the snow and the freeze-thaw cycles and the salt spray and whatnot. And that's, really where a lot of the deterioration comes from. The inside of your building is pretty rare for it, especially in the high rises, to deteriorate. But salt spray in a parking garage or freeze-thaw cycle on an old masonry facade. Those are definitely things that should be maintained. And with any maintenance, just even like a single family home, the sooner you fix those little issues as they arise, the easier it is to pay for that. It's cheaper the earlier you do it. The longer you wait, the more significant it gets, the more costly it gets. So
and Chris,
if you're doing them. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, no, and Chris Casson, I want to follow up with you just very quickly. We only have a few seconds, but as someone that does legally advise homeowners associations, what is your interaction like with these associations?
Well, best practices, even though, as Evan indicated, the law in Illinois doesn't require reserve studies, but best practices would be to have a reserve study done. So, if I'm asked about that from a client, that's what I would advise them to do. Or if they haven't updated it for a while, they should update it so that they have an idea of the useful life expectancy of the components and significant components of their building, so that they can appropriately provide for repair and replacement of those component parts in the future.
All right, a lot of interesting things to discuss here, especially given the fact that so many Chicagoans do live in high rises and condo buildings. And our thanks to Evan McKenzie, Chris Caston, and Derek Belt. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Barry.